Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of central Visayas in the Philippines. The Visayas is essentially this area, this grouping of islands here in between Luzon up there and Mindanao down here. So tonight we are looking at essentially two of these large islands. The first being Cebu or Cebu. I've heard both pronounced. I think it depends where you're from. Cebu. And Bohol over here. There are many other smaller islands that are part of this region. Up here, over here, and down here. But the most important one that we're going to talk about in terms of history is right here. This is Mactan. Extremely important to the history of the Philippines. Cebu is pretty, I'd say, mountainous. Definitely compared to Bohol, which is more hilly. And in fact, there are some very famous hills in Bohol. You saw them in the intro. They are the Chocolate Hills. Sadly, when we get to Google Earth, all the pictures there don't show the hills as chocolate. It's so unfortunate. So what happens is that, when the seasons change and it goes from summer to autumn and everything starts to get a little more brown and golden, a series of hills here in the middle of the island of Bohol go from green to brown. And just the shape of the hills and the color, they look like big mounds of chocolate. It's pretty amazing to see. But yeah, Google Earth doesn't have any pictures of them brown. They're all green hills. I'm going to need some of my viewers to go there and upload some pictures to Google in the autumn time. Not now. I'm filming this in like late winter, so in the autumn. Cebu City up here is the second largest city in the Philippines, of course, next to Manila, or Metro Manila. Cebu kind of has its own metro area here. There's various cities throughout here that kind of blend together, much like Manila, like LA, like a very big area where once they were small towns, now it's basically one huge metropolitan area. The capital of Bohol, because the capital of the region is Cebu City, but the capital, or capital, main region, largest city of Bohol is Tagbilaran. Here, I hope I'm saying that right. Also a very important place for the history of the Philippines. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about this history. People have been living here for a very, very long time. There's evidence of cave art in Bohol. And there were, of course, many different peoples that lived throughout these islands, as with the rest of the islands of the Philippines, many different ethnic groups. But the Cebuano, hence the name, are the most prominent in our story tonight. And from what I can tell, we don't have a written history of them, so we don't know much about the details of life, like wars or anything like that. We know customs and stuff, but any details until they were contacted by Europeans. The first European to contact them was Ferdinand Magellan in 1521. Ferdinand Magellan was sailing around the world, trying to be the first person to circumnavigate the globe. He'd done pretty good so far. He wound up over here in the Philippines, meeting the people here. It went okay at first, but one day he rolled up to Mactan here, had some conflict with the Datu by the name of Lapu-Lapu. It turned into a skirmish. Magellan was killed on the beach, and his crew sailed off without their brave leader, kind of leaving that legacy. We'll see the cross that he planted here in Cebu, Magellan, and the beach where he lost his life. Over here in Bohol, a somewhat tragic event happened. Well, very tragic event happened. In 1563, the Sultanate of Ternate which if you saw yesterday's video, I told you to remember that place. It's down that way in what's now Indonesia, in Maluku. They had a disagreement with the people of Bohol. Bohol, or Tagbilaran, had been a big trading center for many places throughout East Asia, mostly China. But they traded with the Sultanate, and some conflict or another happened, and the Sultanate came and attacked the people here. The Sultanate had weapons from Europeans, and people here did not, so it was pretty bad slaughter, and many people who survived fled to other islands. So the population had been pretty dwindled 2 years after the fact, when another European would come into contact here. His name was Jose Miguel de Legazpi from Spain. He would arrive here in 1565, exploring the Philippines Islands. And when he made contact with the Datu here by the name of Sikatuna, they said, look, we don't want any trouble. We've been through enough. We only want peace, which must have been a relief for Legazpi, knowing that he's in the territory where Magellan bid it, right? So the two men signed, or agreed to, a blood contract, which I assume is like you cut your palm and then shake on it, you know? Essentially agreeing to peace and cooperation, which essentially led to the Philippines becoming Spanish. Legazpi would go on to found Manila later that year, or maybe earlier that year, and essentially create the Philippines that we know today, the Spanish-speaking, Spanish culture Philippines. San Pedro Fort would be built in Cebu City, mostly to defend against pirates, but also against the Moros, who were Islamic people from Mindanao. We talked about Bangsamoro already on the channel. They would come and attack these Christian areas, because of course Spain brought Christianity, Catholicism to be specific, with them. We're going to fast forward to World War II, and I know a lot of history happened between early colonization and World War II. For example, the United States came and took over during that time. But World War II is really a turning point, not just in the Philippines, but for many countries here in the Pacific. The Japanese came and occupied this area from 1942 to 1945. And like I've said so many times talking about the countries in the Pacific here, the Japanese committed some really horrific atrocities to the people here. And I'm not going to go into detail, but it's some of the worst. It's not YouTube friendly. It's not relaxing. It's topics that, I don't want to go into gory details about. But we all know that horrors were committed by the Japanese here. There were many battles from the Americans in this area to win back the Philippines, which they would. Japan would surrender in 1945, and this area would become, once again, American territory, and later, of course, independent Philippines territory. Cebu would be a hotbed of resistance to the Marcos regime in the 1970s, especially after he declared martial law in order to remain president, and into the 1980s. Big center of the People Power Revolution, which eventually overthrew Ferdinand Marcos and put Corazon Aquino in power. The only other thing that I found in history in this area were the various earthquakes. Apparently a fault line has just been growing and growing in Bohol, especially in this area here. See Inabanga up here. And there have been some pretty massive earthquakes, the largest one being in 2013, the most recent one being last September. I'm filming this in February 2025. The last big one was, it's 2026 now, holy moly. September 2026. The last big one was September 2025, as of me filming this, of course. But I mean, the only other significant event in history would be the growth of Cebu City and economic growth, I suppose. They called it the Cebu, economic Cebu. Very clever. And that's pretty much what I've got for you today for history. If I left out anything significant, let me know in the comments. I know a lot of Filipino viewers have left some really great comments on my latest videos about the Philippines. I appreciate you guys so much. Let me know. I think I got everything. All right, Russell's here. He's in the window that I closed because I'm about to turn on the tablet and he's trying to open it. So I'm going to let him have some window time. I'll turn out the lights, close the window again, and we'll look at this area on Google Earth. Let's go. Here we are in central Visayas. Now, this map includes part of Negros Island here. This is no longer part of the region. Right, Russell's here. Hi, Russie. This was changed a few years ago, so ignore this, okay? It's just this area here. But let's zoom out so you and Russell can see exactly where we are in the world. Here are the beautiful Philippines. See the Philippine Sea over here, South China Sea. On that side, just Russell, we're zooming out. We're zooming out, buddy. Can see Taiwan to the north there, Indonesia to the south. It's pretty easy to find the Philippines on a map. They're very distinct. And we're right in the middle. Let's start over in Bohol. Let's start here in Tagbilaran. And we can see actually right here, the Blood Compact Shrine, where it is memorialized, where peace was made between the local people and Legazpi. And that sign's seen better days. So yeah, there's lots of statues of heroes there by the looks of it, and a little osprey maybe, of some kind, hawk. But yeah, there's that. But then there's the Bohol Museum over here, where we can see more statues by the looks of it. Here we go. And some farm tools there, but that's what I really want to show you. Over here. Oh, there it is. The Tarsier Sanctuary. Russell, could you not chew on my chair? Oh, he says absolutely I'm going to chew on the chair. Okay, watch out, buddy. Okay, there we go. The tarsier is the world's smallest primate. And they're extremely cute, and they live only on Bohol. Look how tiny. So cute. They're like little mice. The Tarsier Sanctuary. They're super, super cute, I think. Tarsiers are territorial animals, and tarsiers can have only one baby per year. That makes sense because they're so little. They are bitty little guys. Isn't that amazing? It's kind of a weird drawing there. Looks like you can hike through and see the tarsiers. Isn't that great? And then, of course, over here we have there's another one. Wait. More tarsiers. You've just seen them. But there's, oh my goodness. They look like little baby Yodas. They're so cute. Anyway, let's look at the Chocolate Hills. Somewhere here in the middle. There's rice terraces. How come I've lost them? Do I not have the everything? I do. And usually when I zoom in, they just pop right up. Cats are growling. There we go. Chocolate Hills. My goodness. It's a lot of different slideshows here, but like I said, they only show them when they're green. So, Jet Jaguar, leave him alone. Thank you. Jet Jaguar, leave him alone. It's okay. My goodness, these cats are driving me crazy. But yeah, Chocolate Hills, look at that. They're so weirdly shaped. Like, can climb up this one. They're just so mounded. I guess those are a little brown, aren't they? They're just like little mounds. Like they look like they were put there by a giant hand of God or something, just mounding little rice balls or something. Or I guess chocolate bonbons. I love chocolate hills. Ship house is right there. But yeah, like look at them from above. Little dots. Look at all the little hills. They're so quaint. All the little hills. There's different chocolate hills here. I guess that's at the top of the hill. But yeah, isn't it such an interesting landscape? Really beautiful. Look at all the little hills. That is something else, isn't it? There's lots of other things to see on this very beautiful island. As always, I recommend that in your own spare time to come to this area on Google Earth and look around for yourself, because I'm sure you'll find some wonderful things there. Here's Mactan Island. That's the city of Lapu-Lapu there, here in the greater Cebu area. But if we look, let's see, I think it's over here. Yep, the Mactan Shrine. This is where Magellan bid it. Lapu-Lapu Monument. Can you hear the rain outside right now? There is Lapu-Lapu, the dude who murked Magellan. You can see a plaque there. Beautiful Philippine flag. Mactan, looking very mighty right there. But I think it's right here. Let's see, because it shows, oh, I guess we can actually just read this one, because it says, on this spot, Ferdinand Magellan died on April 27th, 1521, wounded in an encounter with the soldiers of Lapu-Lapu, chief of Mactan Island. One of Magellan's ships, the Victoria, under the command of Juan Sebastian Elcano, sailed from Cebu on May 1st, 1521, and anchored at Sanlúcar de Barrameda, I think it says, on September 8th, so on and so forth, completing the circumnavigation of the globe. So yeah, that's where Ferdinand Magellan lost his life. That is Mactan Island. If we head over here, Mandaue is the other like big city, and there's Cebu. Let's look at the little historic area over here. Here's Magellan's cross. So when he first arrived on this island, he planted a big old cross in the ground, and here it is. Dun-dun. Of course, it didn't look like this when he arrived. This has all been built around it with a big like painting depicting the event up there. But yeah. Magellan's cross. This cross of Tindula wood encases the original cross planted by Ferdinand Magellan on this very site on April 21st, 1521. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Over here is a really interesting church. If you'd let me tap on it. There we go. So it's the Basilica of El Niño de Cebu, the little boy. So when Magellan arrived, he brought some gifts to the people here. There's a picture of him. Oh, no, that's not it. One of them was a little Christ child figurine. I think there's a picture of it over here. This is like the ceremony area, and there's a museum here for it. So I read two sources. There's a picture of him right there. Where is he? There he is. A little Christ child. I read one source that Legazpi burned this area to the ground. I read another that Legazpi arrived and the people had fled in terror and had just like grabbed everything they could and went to the interior. But nevertheless, in the rubble of whatever happened, they found a wooden box, and inside was this little Christ child, perfectly preserved on this spot. So they built the church there. So they're like, oh, that must have been from Magellan, and it's survived and it's perfectly intact. And even during World War II, Japan was bombing this area, and a shell landed on the church, but it didn't explode. It did wreck the church, but it didn't. And the little Christ child was perfectly fine. He actually sustained more damage being stored away to keep him safe than from being bombed by the Japanese. Isn't that wild? So there's a big festival here every year for him. A big pilgrimage site. Here's the National Museum of Cebu. What can we find here? There's Magellan getting absolutely wrecked. Bunch of ships there of different types. A sweet whale shark. Aren't they so cute? Beautiful works of pottery there. Is that Jose Rizal? I can't tell. But anyway. Big sailing ship there. And look at that. The storage under these boats. Look at this photo of like all the pottery that was found under the water. Isn't that so fascinating? It's a little flutes by the looks of it. Little pan flutes or something. Some seashells. That's pretty cool. Whoa, and some modern art too. Over here is Fort San Pedro, which is interesting because it's a triangle, like a mini fort. But here's how it looks today. Fort San Pedro. Lots of history inside the founding of Cebu. Very well preserved. The Fort of San Pedro, described in an official report in 1793, is triangular in shape and made of stone and mortar. The three bastions are La Concepcion, San Ignacio de Loyola, and San Miguel Powder Magazine. Let's see, that's Magellan. It commemorates the royal visit Their Majesties Juan Carlos I and Queen Sophia visited. That's amazing. King and Queen of Spain. Lots of art there as well. Beautiful little fortress there. Over here is Colon Street. This is the oldest street in the Philippines, and it's mostly a shopping area. I know there's a slideshow for it. There's a big obelisk. Oh, and then I have to show you this. Let me show you. This beautiful roundabout has this gorgeous statue of history, and it's absolutely beautiful. I think this is the prettiest roundabout I've ever seen. It just shows, it reminds me of like sandcastle art, you know? It's so like, it feels like it's moving, but it shows, as you go around it, all of the different eras of history here. That is so beautiful. That's fun. They're out in the water. But yeah, it's a really gorgeous monument there. Let's see, there's the obelisk outside of Colon Street, of course named after Cristobal Colon. It's just a pretty standard obelisk there. But yeah, this is a big shopping center here. As you can see, there's the Super Metro shopping mall. There's the slideshow for it. There's the night market over there. It's the big commercial area. Here you get some holo there. Yum, 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 yum. I was poking around at the Jollibees around here. I miss Jollibee. I think it was this one actually, where they had a picture of my order right here. Chicken Joy and spaghetti. Oh my gosh, I miss Jollibee so much. This is some amazing chicken. Right, Jollibee? That's right. I love Chicken Joy. With spaghetti. Where else are you going to get fast food spaghetti, right? And there's, of course, lots of beautiful nature around here. Look at this big pit mine right here. My goodness. That's massive. But yeah, lots of amazing waterfalls and such. Of course, beaches. This one's sticking out. Really wants us to look at it. Oh my goodness, look at that water. That can't be, that's got to be a filter. It's like Gatorade. There, that's more like it. How pretty. Yeah, there's all kinds of natural beauty throughout this island. Of course, I highly recommend that you poke around and check it out for yourself. let me show you the Central Cebu protected landscape so you can see how it looks here. Isn't it beautiful? The beautiful Philippines. And they're riding their ATVs out there, enjoying all of these beautiful, beautiful sights. What is that? I was gonna say maybe it's a cow. There's some ostriches. All kinds of wildlife around here. Look at this line of people trekking out here. My goodness, it's not a very fun hike when you have that many people. I wonder where they're all going. Maybe to the Eco Adventure Park. She's having a nice time. There's a Lord of the Rings themed adventure park in there. And some rope activities there. All kinds of stuff. But I think that's pretty much all I needed to show you. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else. Oh gosh, Google Earth is crashing. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. It's crashing. Come on now. You can do it. There you go. And all of the updates. Do you want to see what it does now? So when you open Google Earth, it now opens to the map view. So you have to set it to satellite and set it to everything so that we can see everything. So I don't know why it's doing that. Every time I turn it on, it reverts back to the map mode. Nobody wants that. If I wanted that, I'd just open Google Maps. I wouldn't open Google Earth. But nevertheless, that is it. Let's look in here and see if there's any pretty pictures here in Bogo Bay. I think I remember looking at this. Oh yeah, just this long straight road here going through all the farms. That's pretty cool. I remember looking at this bamboo forest. It's pretty neat, but nothing like incredible to show you. Let's go up to the tip. What's up here? Bulalaki Point. Let's end it here. This is pretty great. Look at all the smiles. Or not smiles. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. He's looking at you. Next episode is going to be tablet only. We are going to Togo. You guys, we finished the central areas. We're now moving on to Central in Togo, and then we're moving on to the centres. So look for some French-speaking places coming up soon. We're actually going to 2 capital cities later this week that are French-speaking in their centre regions. Can you guess what they are? I'll give you the hint that they're both in Africa. That's your only hint. But be sure to subscribe so you'll know what they'll be and you won't miss out. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a good